To take a look at some of our Alaska news for this Tuesday morning. I don't know if you heard about it, but last week there was a roundup in some of the villages of 8 different fugitives. It's actually something that is quite common, where instead of going out from one village and then back and then to another village and back, what the troopers will do is charter a plane and go from village to village to village to grab these people on whatever warrants they're wanted on. So once again, this warrant roundup has netted 8 fugitives. There's a land conservation project that's going on right now in the Goldstream Valley in the Fairbanks area, in which private land is being purchased by a conservation group, a national conservation group, with the aim of removing these properties from potential development. Among them, we've got a place that used to produce peat for fertilizer. We've got some other lands and now some private property that has been acquired, and they've announced that it's their intention to acquire more private land and put it into this public trust. It's connecting with some state land and some other lands that are under this conservation trust to make a continuous area for recreation. KINY Radio notes that a dead orca that was discovered down off of the coast of British Columbia did in fact die of blunt trauma, but they haven't determined whether it was struck by a vessel or by another animal. I didn't realize that orcas could be killed by striking another animal. The recycling facilities at UAF were unexpectedly removed by the person or the company that was providing the services because of economic reasons. Mayor Castle says that underscores the necessity of having a centrally located government-run recycling center. Nome Gold has now been sold. It's now Arctic Gold Mining, LLC, and it's going to continue to mine for gold in the Nome area, including offshore. There are some Alaskans who believe that the appointment of Rex Tillerson is actually going to help the Alaska Gas Project, despite the fact that Tillerson has been involved with, I believe now, 4 different gas projects that have been crushed by state government under 4 different governors, including this last one, where he was the CEO of Exxon, and this Alaska LNG project Exxon wanted out because it's simply not economic. Turnagain Pass has opened despite the increase in avalanche risks, and once again they are reminding the public to exercise extreme caution for avalanches, as there was a recent storm in that area. CCFR, that's the Juneau Fire Services, saying that basically they're having a real problem with motorists not pulling over when the emergency vehicles come up behind them. They say part of it is people are distracted, their music is too loud, whatever. They do have a great big giant horn that they use to get people's attention, but they're asking folks, please, if you notice the emergency vehicles, pull over, get out of the way. By the way, there was an article picked up in the ADN.com about Jim Matherly's post on Facebook, the Mayor of Fairbanks, posting about how angry he was at this woman who left her kids alone in the car and how he was proud of himself for calling the cops on her. Well, the ADN carried an interview with him, and they stressed the fact that there is no law in Alaska that says that you cannot leave your children unattended in the car if you're going to run in and grab some Starbucks, as this woman was doing. There's a couple of sad stories out of the Homer area. Homer News reported that a woman in Ninilchik lost her house in a fire about a week ago, and now her neighbors are coming together to help her. There's also a story about the Permanent Fund and how the dividends, now a new report showed that the Permanent Fund dividends help lift literally tens of thousands of Alaskans above the poverty line every year, and that taking that money for state government is going to push the people back down under the poverty line. Recall Trump's F-35 tweet last week. It's now pitted a couple of different companies against each other, Boeing and Lockheed Martin, and it sent their defense stocks tumbling. The uncertainty over that pipeline in North Dakota now is highlighting a broader uncertainty and concerns for American Indian tribes under a new president. There were nearly 8,000 Bohemian waxwings spotted in Anchorage as part of the Christmas bird count, nowhere near the record number of birds that they had just about 30 years ago. There's new alcohol legislation being pushed through the state of Alaska. We're going to be hearing more about that come January. And there's a Petersburg man that was put behind bars for child pornography after a search of his phone on an unrelated sting for drugs discovered these images. There was a Ketchikan man who was arrested in Colorado on Christmas Eve for attempted murder of his wife because he tried to grab the steering wheel and tried to cause a wreck. The woman became convinced that her husband was trying to kill them both through a head-on collision or something, and she managed to call police. So he's now facing attempted murder charges for that Christmas Eve incident. They did, for some reason, make a point of noting that he had consumed marijuana gum. And an Anchorage snowboarder has ascended to the biggest stage of the sport. So we're going to be hearing some new names in snowboarding in the coming months. That's what we've got for our Alaska news. You want more details? I've got all the full stories on my audio version. It takes about 30 minutes to listen to, but it's all the news you could possibly get for the nationwide and for the state of Alaska. And that's available only on my website, radiofreespeech.com. Please tell your friends and become a supporter if you can, either by buying a direct subscription at my website, radiofreespeech.com, or by becoming a sponsor at Patreon. And tell all your friends. The website, once again, radiofreespeech.com. Thanks.